Hi everyone. This is Sarah Green, psychologist and relationship therapist. Today I'm going to have a webinar about how to navigate conflict in relationship with maturity. So we will explore how we can transform our relationship conflicts from challenges into opportunities for deeper understanding and growth. So, co conflict is inevitable in any meaningful relationship. But if we have right mindset and skills, we can strengthen our bond rather than weaken it through conflicts. So, let's find out how to navigate disagreements with emotional intelligence and maturity. So, conflict is normal. There isn't any relationship that doesn't experience conflict. Um, but what matters the most is how we resolve the conflicts. So even the healthiest relationship, they experience disagreement and tension. And it's not the conflict that predict the relationship success, like lack of conflict, but how we handle it, it can determine relationship success. So in this webinar, I will look at the evidence-based strategies and see how we can turn conflict to connection. For example, Dr. John Gottman research shows that even happily married couples experience conflict. And it is the repair attempts that make the difference in relationship. In both relationship satisfaction and longevity. So why we have conflict? Why we fight? So there are several reasons behind the conflicts. One of them is miscommunication. So, for example, it is very important to understand the triggers, things that trigger conflicts, and then we address that. So usually we see the surface things in the conflicts, but underneath of that, there are miscommunication, differing needs, values, and expectations, and also external stressors, that all of these can affect the relationship. So what are differing values? Different people have different priorities, expectation, and they have a different view about life. That can bring conflicts. The other things is like when people misunderstand each other and they cannot clearly express their needs. The other reason is past experiences. People usually come with some emotional baggage and unresolved previous experiences, which all of this can affect conflict. So the fourth thing that can affect conflict is external stressors, work pressure, financial concern, and family issues. All of this also, these stressors also can contribute to conflict. So research of Dr. Gottman has found out that there are 4 horsemen which they predict relationship breakdown: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. For example, a partner, has a stress, work stress, and is upset about the relationship. And this external pressure can affect the communication. So it's not about the other person, but it's about the work stress affecting and creating that conflict. So conflict is not a threat. It can be an opportunity for connection. Usually, mature relationships use conflict for deeper understanding. So we can approach disagreements with curiosity instead of fear. So we choose curiosity, and also create a space for growth and connection. Usually people, but what happens? Usually people, they react, they have some emotional reaction which comes from feeling unsafe and unheard in relationship. So a couple therapist called Esther Perel, she says that tension is usually signals growth edges in relationship. So growth edges in relationship, what does that mean? Means usually tensions and conflicts happens because there are edges in a relationship. People can grow in that. So by coming from to other person, understanding other person perspective and the way they, live, we can learn and we can grow. So those are the time that is we can grow the most when the conflict happens. So instead of using accusing language, for example, why are you so selfish? It's better we say, can we talk about what each of us needs right now? It means, we're shifting from blaming to saying about our needs, understanding our partner needs. So we have a different mindset. One is reactive mindset. When the conflict happens, we see that as a threaten, and the other mindset would be the growth perspective. So we can see conflict as a pathway for deeper connection. So it is very important that we find out the pattern and the triggers in conflict, and then we use them for growth. So before resolving conflict, it's very important that we calm our mind. So this would be very constructive. Why? Because when the conflict happens, we are flooded with so much emotions, and that can hijack our brain. So when our nervous system is activated, we lose access to our rational thinking and problem solving abilities. So it would be very destructive if we want to resolve the conflict quickly when, we are angry or we are not calm. So it's very important we practice self-soothing techniques. Things like deep breathing, take breaks, grounding exercise, all helps that we regulate our emotional state. So Dr. Sue Johnson, she's very famous, like in couple therapy, and has several books. And she created emotionally focused therapy. She emphasized that emotionally regulating before repair is very important. For example, couples agree on timeout. They have some timeout when they become overwhelmed. And then after, for example, like an hour break or something, they come back to a table and they start talking about that. So here again, we can see deep breathing, like, intentional breathing activities, and that can calm down the parasympathetic nervous system. It can reduce stress hormones and promote calmness. So that is one way. The other way, physical distance, 30 minutes break. When our body comes back to the normal emotional state, then we can engage in discussion. Grounding techniques, there are several grounding techniques. One of them is called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is to say, okay, how can I come into the moment and calm my nervous system? What can I see in the room? 5 things that I see in the room. Okay, I see the chair, I see the table, wall, and we name those ones and say, okay, what can I, four things that I feel I can touch. We can touch different places, and like, okay, three things that I can hear, two things that I can smell, and one things that I can taste. So this practice is why we can do this practice and calm our nervous system, because we engage our senses, and the brain comes to using the senses and come into the here and now moment. So we can use any of these techniques, or even like getting cold shower, or like going for a walk. There are many ways. So always have one way, or I mean 1 or 2 ways you can have, and then use that before coming back to the table and start talking. So the other important things is speak to be heard, listen to understood. So what does that mean? It means effective communication during conflict. It requires two things. One is clear expression. We express ourselves clearly without saying, oh, he should know that, she should know that. So don't assume anything. Just if you need something, or if you are sad with something, clearly express that. And also try to have attentive listening. It means that attentive listening is repeating and validating your partner perspective, and I'm using I statement instead of you language. That can prevent defensiveness reaction. And it's better we focus on personal feelings rather than using blame. So what does that mean? The example is, for example, you never care about my feelings, okay? We can say, I feel hurt when plans change, for example, without notice. So saying about our feeling rather than saying you never care about my feelings. So what is our feeling? Talking about that. So I'll bring some example here. For example, ineffective communication is you always ignore what I say. The effective communication is I feel unheard when my suggestions aren't acknowledged. This is the second example. Why can't you ever be on time? I feel anxious when you are running late. You are being ridiculous right now. I'm having trouble understanding your perspective. You never help around the house. I feel overwhelmed managing household tasks alone. I'm sure you understand how different these are when we start with I language rather you. You means pointing at you and blaming you. I means that is how I'm feeling, and that's the reason like I'm hurt. Okay, so that can change a lot. So replace defensiveness with curiosity. What does that mean? When people have conflict, they usually become defensive. And what happens when we attack, the other person want to counterattack also. So that escalate. So it can create a cycle. We attack, the other person attack as well. So how can we resolve it? So instead of attacking, it's better that we pause and breathe. Create some space between what's happened and our response. And then say, okay, what I don't know. Maybe this happened or that happened, or, let's be curious and try to understand my partner's experience. So through that, when we ask questions, then try to listen. Listen to learn, not to win. For example, instead of immediately responding, that's not true, try asking, help me understand what you are feeling right now. So this can create a space for authentic connection. And then the person feels that, it is what is feeling is important for us. When we ask about their feeling and we say, help me to understand what is your feeling right now. So how we can, when conflict happens, how can we use some techniques that it stops from escalating that? So this like during mid-conflict. For example, we can use some humor, some joke, or we can lighten the tension. So we can be really creative with this one. For example, imagine even when it's escalated, just making kind of, again, we are doing that. Look at us, haha, مثلا laughing at yourself or making a kind of a joke, not in a way like joking about the other person because that probably hurt more, but just something that decrease the tension. The other way would be like taking responsibility for own part. So always look at what is my responsibility in this conflict and how can I first kind of a bit apologize or say, I know this part I have done wrong, but I feel, for example, we need to work on this. Okay, so telling about our responsibility as well. And also the other thing would be offer some affection. For example, when we see our partner really is upset or raising their voice, it's very important that we can use touch or on their arms or hands. And they say even it's good that during the conflict resolution, you sit right next to the person rather than in front of the person. Because when you are in front, it looks like you want to attack each other. But when you are next to each other and even holding, you can hold hands or you can touch their feet and then start talking. That can help to kind of a bit calm down. And the other statements like using some verbal signals, for example, like we are on the same table or on the same team, let's figure out a solution for this, or saying we are not enemies, we are on the same team, let's find out how can we resolve this. Okay, so things like that gives a signal to the other person that we are not in front of them, but we just want to find a solution for that. So, and I told I think about these three, taking responsibility as well. So four of them. And then the other important things is in conflict resolution is we understand what is our partner and our handle conflict style. There are different styles for handling conflict. Some people are avoiders. They usually don't minimize disagreements. They bury under the rocks. So they don't want to talk about it and they just say, okay, give it some time and it will be resolved, which usually it comes back, even sometimes stronger. So some people avoid, and there are some people who escalate things. They are volatile communicators, and they usually, they engage passionately in the conflict and they raise their voice and they usually take the conflict very serious. And we have also validators, which they are usually calmly discuss the issues. So it's very important we know which style we have, which style our partner have, and then find ways to navigate that. So it's good to find a middle ground that we respect both partners' approach. For example, if a couple has volatile like style, so it's important that have some cooling off period, like time For example, we know our partner is volatile, so give some time to them to cool off, and then comes back and talk about it. And if someone is a avoider and doesn't speak, or it's important that we schedule regular checkups to find out, okay, what is the issue with that, because we usually don't say. And okay, so the next important things is setting loving boundaries during conflict. What does that mean? Boundaries are very important in relationship. So it's important that we communicate our needs and respect our partner. But it's also important that we set some boundaries. For example, I need a 10-minute break before continuing. Or please don't raise your voice at me. Okay? If you raise your voice at me, I don't come back to the table to talk about it, and you can leave the room. Okay? Things like that. So we can have boundaries. And so when boundaries are communicated with care, it can create more safety in relationships. So don't be afraid to create healthy boundaries. So we should know what are our limits when we are overwhelmed. When we are overwhelmed, it's good to express our boundary with I statement clearly, and also be consistent. When we set boundaries, we keep that. And then we return to conversation when we are emotionally regulated. So the art of meaningful repair. So how we apologize. Like you have always heard that, okay, he apologized, but again repeated. I don't accept the apology because that would be again repeated, or it is like an empty apology. So that's not good. So it is important that we express genuine regret and then accept responsibility, and also offer repair and empathy. Apologies like, I'm sorry you feel that way, it can even only deepen the hurt, because we are saying, okay, the person's feeling are the problem, okay? So the meaningful repair, the example is that we say about the specific action and their impact. For example, I realize I hurt you by raising my voice. I will work on managing my tone better. So this can demonstrate both understanding and commitment to change. So it is also important to have consistent follow through on commitments. So for rebuilding trust, and also making amends means taking action to repair the damage, and accepting responsibility, accepting your role without excuses, and expressing genuine regret for the impact that we have made. So it's very important. Next time something happens, you made a mistake, just don't say, I'm sorry. Say, I'm sorry that I did this, and you felt like this, and next time I'm sure I will do this, or something like that, okay? So conflict skills are like muscles. We go gym and do some exercises. So conflict resolution skills is not something that we can build, just in one night. So you come to this webinar and you learn things, but you need to, do some practice. And don't be we shouldn't be perfectionist. The goal is progress, make some progress. So it needs to do, even like doing a small changes, positive change. It can, be very useful. So, and it needs continuous practice. So even The practice can be done through minor disagreements. When small disagreements happen, try to do practice because you are not as much triggered or activated. So then you can probably it's easier for you to use these techniques. For example, try to say yourself, I need to calm before starting that. And how can I apologize if you did something wrong? Or how can I reduce the tension by saying that, for example, we are in the same team, or let's, kind of maybe a bit joking about the mistake you made and things like that. So, and every time you do like a small wins, celebrate that. And that create a new pathway in the brain. And over time, then we become better and better. So, and the final slide. So, conflict is not about winning, it's about understanding, growth, and connection. When approached with maturity, disagreement actually strengthens relationship. It can increase mutual understanding and respect. So remember, it is us versus the problem, not me versus you. So when you want to implement these skills, focus on practicing empathy, regulating your emotion, and prioritizing connection, even during conflict, difficult conversations. So reflect on one of the skills that you want to practice this week and try to do small, consistent change. So there are 3 steps. Understand your partner, try to understand, comprehend your partner's perspective. Regulating emotion, manage your emotional responses with self-awareness. And the third one would be prioritize the relationship above winning the argument, means connection. So these are 3 things which are very important in resolving the conflict. Okay, so we come to the end of this webinar. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And